Hey everybody, Tekking101 here to discuss a character in Bleach that we haven't seen in a couple of years, and I'm sure that makes a lot of people jump for joy that we haven't seen him in a couple of years. He used to be the major antagonist of the Bleach series before this sexy German bastard hit the scene right here. So in case you're unaware, I am of course referring to Jinkaria. I know, right? This guy was like the best filler villain, hands down. And I know some of you out there might be saying, well, Taki, didn't Ichigo kill him? You know, he kind of turned to dust up on Sokyoku Hill. Okay, yeah, that's kind of true. But I bet you're also forgetting about the time in episode 125 when Ichigo was dreaming about his past battles. You know, he had Byakuya and he also had Jinkaria show up, and he created a replica of Jinkaria in his soul. And as we all know with Ichigo's soul that's divided into like 13 different sections, that means Karia still lives on inside of him, right alongside that little miniature Yuha Bach and that hollow Shinigami power, whatever the fuck that thing's gonna be called in the future. But yeah, so what the hell, Kubo? You need to bring this guy back right now. He will make or break this final arc. Karia versus Yuha for the win. Okay, for those of you who are still watching this, I'm of course referring to the former captain of Squad 5 and the master of the mindfuck himself. I'm pretty sure he coined that phrase. I think he patented it. Yeah, so we're talking about Sosuke friggin' Aizen right here. Alright, so as we all know, Sosuke Aizen is going to be returning to the plot of Bleach. Could be in a couple of weeks, could be in a couple of months, could be in the last 3 chapters. I don't freaking know. But Kubo did state that his story isn't finished yet, and of course with the revelations in this new arc with Yuha kind of referencing him, that we all know he's going to pop back up sooner or later. So before we get into the actual aspects of what I think's going to happen with Aizen's character, let's go back a little bit because, you know, his defeat it actually opened up a lot more questions than answers, honestly. I mean, we were expecting this big awesome slash down between Aizen and Ichigo was going to like cut him up in this awesome, you know, really elaborate scene, and Aizen dies and Ichigo stands victorious. But you know, the funny thing about that final battle, aside from the fact that the final battle between Ichigo and Aizen was like, what, like 4 chapters, and most of it wasn't even really a fight because Ichigo just kicked so much ass at that point, and, you know, Aizen didn't really even stand a chance. I mean, when Kubo kind of gave Ichigo the ability to bitch slap gravity, yeah, that was at that point kind of OP there. But basically, let's go on the aspects of his defeat. Alright, so Aizen fused with the Hogyoku, which, among other things, turned him into a butterfly, but basically made him onto a god, made him into a higher spiritual being. You know, like the regular Shinigami are 2-dimension, Aizen basically became 3rd dimension, so unless he brought his power level deliberately down, they weren't even able to sense his presence. That's how high he was removed. So that's why he could just basically curve stomp and walk around and just own every single Shinigami. You know, even Urahara and Isshin and all the strongest ones. Then after Ichigo went through his Deus Ex Machina final Getsuga training, he was able to completely bitch slap him with Mugetsu, a technique that basically split him right down the middle. He did not die, however, because thanks to the Hogyoku, he was able to retain his life. He was able to stitch himself back up. And here's where a lot of the controversy comes into play. At the final, I think it was like the 1 chapter when Aizen was right about to be sealed by Urahara, so many questions got opened up. Question number 1. Does he still have control over the Hogyoku? He obviously still had it in him. It was stitched himself back up, so obviously he still had it in, but we never got any mention of it afterwards. We never had a line of dialogue stating like, oh yeah, Urahara came and he took out the Hogyoku, even when he was being sentenced by Central 46 and he was all bandaged up in that BDSM gimp suit. We still don't know if he still had the Hogyoku in him. They stated, well, we can't kill you. Obviously, they would have for all the shit he's done, so they can't kill him, so they were just going to imprison him for 20,000 years. Why wouldn't they just imprison him forever, you know, for eternity, as long as the Seirete stood? Have no idea. But well, they couldn't kill him, so maybe he has some control of the Hogyoku. Then there's the debate over his Zanpakuto, because after he got stitched up and he's, you know, kind of regressing back into his regular form after Ichigo, you know, struck him with Mugetsu, you know, his Zanpakuto starts to fade away. And from Aizen's perspective, he thought that meant that, oh, my Zanpakuto is fading away because it's merging with my body, such as like Ichigo's Zanpakuto kind of merged with his. But Aizen thinks, oh, I'm going even beyond you. I'm going into the 5th dimension, motherfucker, because I don't even need a Zanpakuto anymore. The Hogyoku has decided that I can merge with it completely, and I don't need it, of something of the like. Now, whether or not that was actually the case, and the sword was actually merging with him completely, or the Hogyoku was just, you know, breaking apart, or Aizen's own resolve was breaking apart, because that's what the Hogyoku kind of lived on, and like Aizen's true desire, and the Zanpakuto was just being destroyed itself, that's up for debate. But then we had that whole scene with Yuha when he was in the prison, and, you know, he was still able to mess with Yuha's head. You know, he was able to, like, to mess with his sense of time, even though he's supposed to be, you know, bound to a freaking chair, and just being able to just stare at him with one eye. Apparently that was enough to mess with Yuha in some way.
Hey, there's a lot of stuff you can do with one eye. You know what I'm saying, ladies? That wasn't a wink. That was just me blinking. Hold on. Oh, there you go. That was a wink. That was a wink. You know, and I thought some girls were into guys that were dressed in head to toe in leather, but not a lot of takers down here.
So, I like to think that maybe Aizen was accurate when he stated that the Zanpakuto was merging with him, that Kyokazu Uegetsu was becoming part of him, because obviously they would not lock Sosuke Aizen in the prison. They would just chuck his sword in there with him. It's like, well, this is your life, partner, so here you go. You know, obviously they wouldn't do that. So, the idea that he was able to mess with Yuha at all while being constrained like that, that gives the credence to believe that his Zanpakuto is part of him now, that he has some ability, he can use its abilities without actually having it in his possession, you know, of some such like that. So those were just the aspects of his defeat, and the last time he was even, well, the last time he was physically seen was when he was sentenced, but the last time he was actually mentioned was when Yuha went to go see him in the prison to kind of ask him if he wanted to be you know, one of the war potentials, and Aizen kind of turned him down. Honestly, I thought that would have been a cool idea. You know, Aizen's pretty clever. I mean, he could have just used Yuha to get out of the prison and then just like double-crossed him, just like, oh, fuck you, man, I'm not getting involved in this Quincy war, I'm going, you know, I'm out of here, man, I'm going to do something else, you know, at least like retreat back to Wakamundo, do something, but you know, he didn't. He just kind of turned him down. He's like, no, I'm cool rotting in the prison, I'm doing good down there. I talk to him from time to time, you know, we tweet back and forth. I hear he's actually having a little bit of fun down there.
Yeah, surprisingly you get pretty good Wi-Fi down here. But yeah, my days are pretty filled up, actually. I spend most of them counting the amount of water droplets that are coming from the ceiling. The record is 4,372, but I think today is going to be a record setter.
Now, this kind of opens up a whole other debate, and I'm not going to go into it that much because it's probably just going to be revealed later on, and it's pretty obvious what happened, but Aizen is probably not in the Seirete prison anymore, not in the Central Underground prison, ever since Yuha kind of washed over the Seirete with the Vandenreich city. And we've seen that it even changes the 12th Division barracks, you know, like the inside of the buildings gets washed over too. So there's really no reason to not think that Aizen is no longer in the prison, that he's maybe just in another room. Now, he might still be, like, bound by the seals, but, you know, you gotta figure Aizen, you know, like, there's, like, one aspect of me that's just thinking that this was all part of his master plan. It was exactly as planned. Like, he could leave anytime he wanted. He just doesn't, because he's, like, sitting there and he's just waiting and he's just contemplating what to do. It's, like, all part of his master plan, because given Aizen's, you know, I hate the guy in terms of an antagonist. You know, he started off as a promising antagonist, but after a while, I really just started to have a disdain for him. I really just wished he would have gone away. Yuha is about 100 times better, in my personal opinion. I made a whole different video about that. But when it comes to Aizen's character at its core, the guy is very rarely ever caught off guard. I mean, he always usually has some kind of backup plan for something. You know, he always has a contingency planned. So I like to think that even if he did, you know, end up still staying in the Seirete prison, he could have just left whenever he wanted to. There's some aspect of me that just says that. Maybe that's not the case, but, you know, that's just my thoughts on that. Now, when he does return to the plot, however he's going to do this, I don't know if it's going to be like, he's just going to appear in the middle of the battle and be like, hey guys, I'm back again, and all the Shinigami are just going to be like, oh shit, this guy's freed. Or if it's going to involve something with Yuha again, maybe Yuha is going to, you know, maybe he's now at Yuha's palace, because ever since the Vandenreich flip, maybe he brought Aizen to the palace and he's just hanging out in a room and he's just like, you ready to join me now, bitch? You know, something like that. I don't exactly know how he's going to show back up in the plot, but a lot of the debate lies where his loyalties are going to be. Is this going to be a case where we're going to have kind of like a redemptioning sort of thing, where he's trying to, like, he's realizes that the Quincy's are going to be a threat to the entirety of the universe, because they kind of are. If they continue what they're doing and they wipe out all the Shinigami, then the balance is going to be disrupted, and that's basically going to collapse everything. So maybe Aizen's going to realize that and fight along the Shinigami, and then there's the other thing, maybe he is going to fight along Yuha's side, or maybe he's going to be completely neutral. Maybe he's just going to have his own devices and just kind of go with whatever side is in the lead. You know, like, Yuha is currently winning, obviously, so he's like maybe just going to follow Yuha to see where this is going to go. Personally, I think a redemptioning factor for Aizen would be very, not impossible. I mean, Kubo might go that route with it, but I would find it very disconcerting, okay? Because he was the main antagonist for so damn long. He was basically the most identifiable antagonist of the entire series of Bleach, and, you know, I just find it hard, like, you can't just, like, have him show back up and be like, oh, by the way, I'm a good guy now, or I've realized the errors of my ways. You know, Aizen does not realize the error of his ways. Aizen doesn't really have ways. He just kind of does whatever he does, and he is, like, 10 steps ahead of of you, you know? And that's like kind of like if in Naruto, Orochimaru shows up after being absent for so many years, and it turns out he's a good guy. Okay, bad example with that. Oh, okay, I got a better one. It's like if in Toriko, Midora, you know, the head of the Bashoku Kai, turned out to be not as bad as everyone thought he was. Okay, also not a very good... Damn, people, you gotta stop redeeming your villains. Just keep the villains villains. It's okay, it's alright. I know manga series have to have villains, but just because their stories are over, like the arc moves on, doesn't mean the villain has to automatically be a good guy now. Okay, fine, screw it. Doflamingo from One Piece. After the Dressrosa arc, Doflamingo from One Piece turns out to be a good guy, or has like a redemption factor going on. It would just be weird. Same thing with Aizen. Now, that with being said, I don't mean like Aizen still has to like still be all conniving about how I want to be king of the Soul Society, I want to kill the Soul King, Ichigo, I'm going to kill you. You know, that doesn't mean he has to do that. But I could totally see him just coming back and just being like, you know what, I tried doing this whole taking over the Serite thing, it didn't work out for me, you could go ahead and do this, but I'm my own man, I'm going to stay neutral in this, I'm just going to go about my own thing. That I can see, that I can understand, and I can even kind of see him like helping out Ichigo, or like indirectly, you know, just kind of giving him some helpful information, or like telling him something that he needs to know in order to defeat Yuha, some such like that, but I don't see him helping Ichigo out directly, maybe just for the sake of, like I said, you know, maintaining the whole balance of everything, but that's all I could really see Aizen doing.
What? Oh, right, my motive. Well, I'm definitely not gonna try that freaking Soul King Oaken thing again, you know, because honestly, I was just doing that to get some chicks. Let's see here. Well, I could take over the Dongai world, unless somebody already tried to do that. Did anyone try to do that yet? No? Okay, I guess I could do that. And oh, by the way, I guess I could try to take over the, world of the living, you know, just hang out there, you know, I could just be their king, you know, that would have actually been a lot simpler to do than dominate the entirety of the Soul Society, just rule the world of the living with an iron fist. I don't even need the entire world, I just need I don't know, like Europe. Not even all of Europe, just, I don't know, Spain. Sosuke Aizen, the ruler of Spain, and I could organize bullfights, and I could sit up there on my golden throne, and I could have millions of adoring subjects, and you know, that would have been kind of cool. Nice weather. You know, that's pretty warm. Okay, fuck it. That's what I'm going to do. When I get out of here, I'm going to dominate the country of Spain. Get ready, because we're doing this.
But, you know, I guess this all just comes down to opinion in the end, so I got a couple of questions for you guys. Number one, how do you think Aizen will be reintroduced back in the series? Number two, what do you think his motives will be when he returns back into the series? And number three, how do you think he's going to act when he sees Ichigo again? Because you know that's going to happen. Like, how do you think those two are going to interact, realizing they're on the same battlefield now? But yeah, those are my three questions. Aizen, when you show back up in the plot, I hope you're a little bit more interesting than what you used to. I think your absence might help a little bit on that. There was kind of like an oversaturation of you back in the fake Karakura Town arc, but hope you show up soon, you magnificent butterfly person.
Oh my god. Okay, look, the butterfly thing was just a phase, alright? I really wanted the Hogyoku to turn me into a massive griffin, but I guess it got the signals crossed somewhere, you know, somebody screwed up, and I ended up as a butterfly, okay? I didn't ask for it! I'm not fucking happy about the situation, okay? And people fail to realize the awesome, badass transformation I did after that, you know, where I literally peeled off the skin, revealing my dark, black skull. You know, that was pretty badass. I looked kind of like a demon. I looked pretty scary, right? I was terrifying, right? I tried to do a good job. I just wanted to do a good job. Why isn't anyone like me? Is it because I monologue? Yes, I monologue. I just don't get it, man. I just want people to like me. Why can't I be like that sexy guy from the 6th Division? He's cool. What does he have that I don't have, huh? You know, I don't even care. I'll even settle for like Sajin. I will literally settle for being as cool as Sajin. It's not like I'm lonely down here. There's a lot of other people that have been subjected to the 8th level of Muken that I can hang out with.
Like me, essay.
Shut up, Arturo! No one was talking to you! Yeah, that's Arturo Platido. It's some wrong card that ended up down here. If you don't know who that is, Expanded Universe, that's all I have to say.
It's Platiado.
No one cares, you know, screw it. You know, I'm taking over Spain just because of your dumbass name.